Then that's the end of the fucking debate.
Okay, so...
Then I used the terms right, didn't I? So by your logic, we should get rid of birth control
we going to go extinct?
until we get at least, yes, South Korea will be extinct. Their birth rate is so fucking low.
Are we talking about South Korea?
You should really abandon this position because it's completely fucking incoherent. Ultimately, you're just talking about preferences, things you prefer.
A preference is not something...
It has to be the case because otherwise you have to give me a standard that's unchanging, that's objective, that you can appeal to, that would say that whatever you prefer to do is wrong. And you can't. So it has to be things that you just fucking like. I mean, what else? I don't know what else your morals could be.
My final thought is just if I don't prefer the betterment of society and I personally prefer for 30 people to die, I think that's negative. I don't understand why you're disagreeing with that.
This is fantastic. I think that if X happens, that's negative because I think so. I see. You don't prefer any of that. Got it.
Dude, you're about to watch Andrew Wilson absolutely demolish someone who thinks morality is whatever you feel like it should be. Like, this is one of those debates where you can literally see someone's entire worldview collapse in real time, and they just keep digging deeper. She starts out confident, thinking she's got this whole subjective morality thing figured out. And by the end, she's basically admitting that if she personally thinks something's bad, then it's bad. That's it. That's her whole moral framework. And the best part? She doesn't even realize how badly she just destroyed her own argument. Andrew catches it immediately. Watch how he forces her into this corner where she has absolutely nowhere to go. It's genuinely hilarious, man. Let's dive in.
Okay, I don't agree with your definition of objective and subjective.
May I please
Then what do you think subjective
You're just describing,
means?
you are using objective synonymous with the words natural fact, natural law, something based in science.
Not natural law and not natural fact. First of all, when I say objective, I mean it exists in material reality without your mind.
Okay.
Okay, so a social construction, does that require your mind? Hang on. Does a social construction require your mind? Is the government a social construction?
Yes.
Okay, is the school a social construction?
Yes.
Is a tree a social construction?
No.
Then that's the end of the fucking debate.
Okay, so...
Then I used the terms right, didn't I?
Well,
Hang
I'm
on.
just happy...
Then I used the terms right, didn't I? Didn't I?
We disagree on the definitions.
How can we disagree on a definition you just agreed to?
By your definition, I am more than happy to agree that...
It's like punishment.
What were we even talking about?
Go ahead. It's like
whatever we were talking about was subjective.
Maybe can I help here? So Andrew, as it relates to preferences, preferences.
Oh, preferences.
What, in your view, is the step beyond? Is it
justification outside of preference, which means there's an objective standard that you appeal to that's not you, right? And that's the grounding foundation for which you're appealing to. So like earlier, she said the law, right? That's a subjective standard, but she's appealing to something. I just think that anything that you appeal to for rights is just going to be things you prefer. And I think that collectively it's going to be things other people prefer and that those preferences can change. And since those preferences can change, if it's the case that I have a preference to do bad thing, you have a preference to do good thing, why am I wrong and you're right?
We've been over this. You've asked me this exact question worded differently.
But I just want to let you know that you never answered it.
I did. We have been over my entire take that I think that we are biologically instilled for the betterment of society. That's what we're striving for. It is, just how.
What if we don't want to go? What if we have shared preferences against things that are we have biology for? Like for instance,
I think
birth
that's
control.
bad.
Birth control is bad.
No, what?
Yeah, so I mean, you have biologically you're wired to drop eggs. Should we stop that?
Do you think that
should we stop that?
Do you think that we
Is that because you have a preference that we don't stop that?
Would you like for me to respond, or do you just want to keep going?
You're just going to ramble, but go ahead. I do want to actually hear it. I do want to actually hear it.
What I would like to say is I don't think that we as a society are currently in a position where we have to procreate for our survival. I think if we were, then birth control probably would be bad because it would mean like the extinction of our society or whatever.
Oh my God. I love you. The birth rate, can you tell me if we're reproducing at a rate to sustain society?
That's just not something I know. I would guess so.
What would you like for me to tell you?
I would love it.
We are way under replacement rate, and humans are not replacing. So by your logic, we should get rid of birth control.
Are we going to go extinct?
Until we get at least, yes, South Korea will be extinct. Their birth rate is so fucking low.
Are we talking about South Korea?
Hang on. The United States is dropping rapidly, too. And so the thing is like, yes, actually, we could lead to a massive reduction in human beings. So if that's the case, if you say, we have trouble reproducing, no, that's why we don't need birth control, then that would mean we should get rid of birth control, right?
Wait, aren't there countries that are very much reproducing a lot?
Not very many.
Like
There's
China,
a few.
India?
No, China's
They're going down?
They're
going
not
down.
the ones with the values that you guys are debating.
Isn't China
It's true.
trying to go down?
Well, China killed like half its children
Yeah, I do.
with the one-child policy.
To your
Well, I killed a lot
dystopian
more.
effect, I could see this actually becoming a thing where men take away women's rights who are deciding to do the fuck men trend, and that will lead to less babies being born if they're like, abandon men suck, fuck them. Be like,
So then,
be lesbian,
if that's
be
biologically
whatever,
what your
men.
imperative is, then we should go against that, right?
Well, no, because I'm not agreeing with her, but I am saying by your logic, you have to.
So maybe I can simplify this like the simplest way possible.
Like you're talking to 4-year-olds.
Does morality come from anything but you?
I mean, it's often
No,
taught.
because morality is subjective.
Okay, so did you catch what just happened there? Because this is the entire debate in a nutshell. Andrew just cornered her into admitting that her entire moral system is literally just things she likes. That's it. And she keeps trying to escape by saying, well, we're biologically engineered. But then she also says we can go against our biology, and that's fine too. So which is it? You can't have both, right? Like, look at the birth control example. That's actually genius from Andrew because it exposes the whole contradiction. She says we should follow our biological imperatives. But then, when he brings up birth control, which literally stops us from reproducing, which is like the most basic biological function we have, suddenly it's okay to go against biology. Why? Because she prefers it. That's literally the only reason. And the funniest part is, she doesn't even know the birth rate stats. She's out here building her entire worldview on biology and survival of the species, and she doesn't even know we're below replacement rate. South Korea is going to be extinct at their current birth rate. The US is dropping rapidly. These are just facts. And then she tries this last-ditch thing where she's like, well, if I don't prefer the betterment of society and I prefer 30 people to die, that's negative. And Andrew immediately catches it.
I think that's negative because I think so.
Dude, she literally just proved his entire point for him. She thinks something is bad because she thinks it's bad. There's no external standard. There's no objective morality. It's just her feelings. And she said it with such confidence too, like she thought that was a winning argument. Here's the thing about it, and Andrew's been trying to explain this the whole time. If morality is subjective, if it only exists in your mind, then the only possible answer for what's moral is whatever you prefer. That's it. You can dress it up with biology or society or whatever else, but at the end of the day, you're still just talking about preferences. And if preferences are all that matter, then when someone disagrees with your preferences, you have literally no way to say they're wrong. You just prefer different things. That's the end of it. She keeps saying we're going in circles, but that's because she won't just admit the obvious conclusion of her own position. Andrew's not going in circles. He's asking the same question because she keeps refusing to answer it honestly.
If there's no objective standard outside of you, then morality is just preference, full stop. And if that's true, then you can't say anyone else's preferences are wrong. You can say you don't like them, you can say you prefer something different, but you can't say they're objectively wrong because you already said there is no objective standard.
The moderator even tried to help her understand what Andrew was asking, and she still couldn't get there. It's actually kind of sad to watch, because you can tell she's not a stupid person. She's just so locked into this worldview that she can't see the massive logical hole she's standing in. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole subjective morality thing, because I see this argument all the time from the left, and it always ends exactly like this.
Exists within the mind.
Then what else could it be? What else could, if it's subjective, what else could be moral except things that you prefer and other people share a preference for?
This is going back in circles. Do you realize what I'm going to answer this with and how we're going to go back to the
That
same
humans are
conversation?
engineered,
We have had this conversation.
but even
20
if they're
times now.
engineered and we can go against our engineering with preference, that would still be moral under this subjective worldview. So like, I don't get it. I actually don't get it at this point. It just seems like, remember how we were talking about good faith?
Yes.
Like, you should really abandon this position because it's completely fucking incoherent. Ultimately, you're just talking about preferences, things you prefer.
A preference is not something that is biologically engineered into you.
Should we do everything that's biologically engineered in us?
No, but my point is,
well, then what are you talking about? Who cares then? You're saying that you should follow preferences to not do things that we're biologically engineered to do?
I think we're more complex than saying we're animals who need to follow our baseline instincts.
We don't have to follow baseline instincts, but how can if morality only comes from you? What else could it be besides shit that you just like and prefer? What else could it even be?
Things that are biologically instilled in us.
That we can go against, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The only biological thing is really what's good for you and your family. Okay, now
Those
we
are
call
things
that
you prefer.
society because we have gotten to the point where we no longer have tribes. We have big-ass countries. So now we call it society because it's huge. But it's still what is good for me if you're in power and you decide that. That's the only thing that matters. What is good for that particular person who holds the power.
I disagree with that. That is not my view at all.
By matter, it means that's what's going to happen. Not matter what's the ideal, what's the utopia, it's what's reality.
Yeah, I'm not arguing in idealistic terms.
Okay.
The arguments against Andrew's position are like how the world should be, which is subjective, right? He's talking about reality, what is, which is objective. Is kind of the
so the idea here is like it's pretty simple. All of your morality, if you say it's subjectively based, the only real coherent answer you can have is that like things you prefer and things that she prefers and she prefers collectively are moral because you all prefer them. The problem, and here's why that has to be the case. It has to be the case because otherwise you have to give me a standard that's unchanging, that's objective, that you can appeal to, that would say that whatever you prefer to do is wrong, and you can't. So it has to be things that you just fucking like. I mean, what else? I don't know what else your morals could be.
You know exactly what I will answer this way.
Yeah, but you saying that you're engineered to do things that if you prefer to go against is still moral is still preference again. It's always just a reduction to preference.
If I don't
have to move
All
on,
right.
but I'll give you guys each another 30 seconds.
My final thought is just if I don't prefer the betterment of society and I personally prefer for 30 people to die, I think that's negative. I don't understand why you're disagreeing with that.
This is fantastic. I think that if X happens, that's negative because I think so. I see. You don't prefer any of that. Got it.
So here's the final verdict. Andrew Wilson absolutely destroyed her. And honestly, it wasn't even close. This is what happens when someone who actually understands philosophy and logic sits down with someone who's built their entire worldview on feelings and preferences without thinking through the implications. She walked into this debate thinking she had a coherent position. She thought she could say morality is subjective and still somehow claim that certain things are objectively wrong. But you can't do that. You can't say there's no objective standard and then turn around and say, but this thing is definitely wrong. Wrong according to what? Your preferences? Okay, well, someone else prefers something different. Now what? You gonna force your preferences on them? Congratulations, you just discovered why subjective morality always leads to tyranny. The person with the most power gets to enforce their preferences on everyone else. And Andrew tried to explain this so many times. He gave her the birth control example. He gave her the biology examples. He straight up asked her like 15 different ways. If morality only comes from you, what else could it be besides things you prefer? And she never had an answer. She just kept circling back to, well, we're biologically engineered, while simultaneously saying it's fine to go against our biology. It's completely incoherent. The other guy on the panel even tried to help her by explaining that Andrew's talking about what is versus what should be. She's over here arguing about how the world should be in her ideal fantasy land. Andrew's talking about reality. If you believe morality is subjective, then in reality, the only thing that determines morality is preference and power. That's it. You might not like that conclusion. You might prefer a world where everyone agrees on some shared biological imperative. But that's not an argument. That's just you stating your preference again. And that final exchange at the end was just chef's kiss. If I don't prefer the betterment of society and I prefer 30 people to die, I think that's negative. Why? Because I think so. Dude, she literally proved Andrew's entire point in one sentence and didn't even realize it. That's what happens when you build your worldview on feelings instead of logic. Look, if you're going to argue for subjective morality, you got to be willing to accept where that leads. And where it leads is that there is no right or wrong beyond what people prefer and who has the power to enforce those preferences. Andrew gets that. He's not saying that's a good thing. He's saying that's the logical conclusion of the position she's defending. And instead of either accepting that conclusion or abandoning the position, she just keeps trying to have it both ways. You can't. This is why these debates matter, man. Because this worldview, this idea that morality is just subjective preferences, is everywhere now. It's in our schools, it's in our media. It's how an entire generation has been taught to think. And when you actually press people on it, like Andrew did here, it falls apart immediately, every single time. If you enjoyed watching Andrew dismantle this nonsense, make sure you like this video, drop a comment letting me know what you thought, and subscribe to Mindblown, because we're going to keep bringing you the best debates and discussions where actual logic wins out over feelings. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.